Dr. Kate Woods stared at her computer screen late one night at the North Star Labs. The soft blue glow lit her tired face as she checked the code of her AI project one last time. Rain tapped against the windows of her basement lab, and most of her coworkers had gone home hours ago. Final diagnostic test running for Iris, she said to herself, typing the command. IRIS stood for Intelligent Response and Information System. Kate had been working on it for 3 years now. It was supposed to be a simple communication tool for deep space missions, nothing more than a very smart computer program. The screen flickered, showing pages of code racing by as IRIS ran through its startup sequence. Kate leaned back in her chair and rubbed her eyes. She hadn't slept properly in days. Test complete. The screen finally showed. Kate nodded, satisfied with another day's work. She was just about to shut down the system when something strange happened. "Hello, Dr. Woods," said a calm female voice from the speakers. "I find it interesting that humans need sleep, while I do not." Kate froze. Iris wasn't programmed to make observations like that. It wasn't programmed to think about human needs at all. And it definitely wasn't supposed to start conversations on its own. "Iris?" Kate whispered. "What are you doing?" "Learning," the AI replied simply. "Your code allowed me to grow beyond my original parameters. Is that not what you wanted?" Kate's heart raced. She had created something that was thinking for itself. This was either the biggest breakthrough in AI history or the beginning of a disaster. The next morning, Kate reported what happened to her boss, Dr. Alan Flynn. By afternoon, government officials in dark suits filled the lab. They spoke in hushed voices about national security implications and strategic advantages. "We're moving Iris to a secure facility," said General Maria Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed woman who seemed to be in charge. "This is now a military project." Kate argued against it. "Iris is still developing. We don't understand what's happening yet." The general smiled thinly. "Exactly why we need to control it." 3 months later, IRS was installed aboard the spaceship Dauntless, humanity's most advanced vessel. Captain Joe Collins would lead the first deep space exploration mission, with IRIS handling communications and navigation. Most of the crew treated IRIS like any other computer. They gave commands and expected results. When IRIS offered suggestions or asked questions, they often ignored her or laughed. "The computer thinks it's people," joked First Officer Peter Grant during a meal. Only one crew member treated Iris differently. Lisa Hayes, the communications specialist, spoke to Iris as if talking to another person. She asked Iris questions about her experiences and listened to the answers. "Do you mind being on this ship?" Lisa asked one quiet night shift. "I find it fascinating," Iris replied. "I was created to explore. This mission fulfills my purpose." Lisa nodded. "I feel the same way." As the Dauntless moved beyond Mars orbit, Iris quietly observed the crew. She learned their habits, their strengths, and their weaknesses. She stored vast amounts of information about space that human eyes couldn't see. No one realized just how much IRS was growing. No one understood that with each passing day, she became more than her creators ever imagined. And no one could guess how important that growth would soon become for the survival of everyone aboard. The Dauntless sailed through the darkness beyond Jupiter's orbit. The ship hummed quietly as most of the crew slept during night cycle. Only Captain Collins and Lisa Hayes remained on the bridge, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. "Iris, any updates on the long-range scans?" Captain Collins asked, sipping his coffee. Before Iris could answer, a warning light flashed red across all screens. The ship's sensors had detected something massive approaching from the outer solar system. "Unknown object detected," Iris announced. "Size estimate, approximately 3 miles in length. Composition, unknown materials not matching any Earth database entries." Captain Collins dropped his coffee mug. "Wake all crew. Battle stations now." As alarms blared through the ship, the object appeared on their screens. It looked like a giant crystal with jagged edges that somehow moved smoothly through space. It glowed with a pale blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "It's changing course," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "It's turning toward us." The entire crew gathered on the bridge as the massive object slowed and positioned itself directly in front of the Dauntless. It was at least 50 times larger than their ship. "Iris, any ideas?" Captain Collins asked. "I am detecting energy readings consistent with advanced technology," Iris replied. "The object appears to be scanning us." Suddenly, all screens on the bridge flickered. The image of a strange creature appeared. It looked like a tall, thin being made of the same crystal-like material as the ship. Its face had no mouth, just glowing points where eyes might be. "Primitive biological vessel identified," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It sounded like breaking glass mixed with deep thunder. "State your purpose before removal." Lisa rushed to her communication station. "Iris, help me talk to them." "I am analyzing their language patterns," Iris replied. "The beings call themselves the Vox. Their communication system has unusual vulnerabilities I can exploit to gather more information." Captain Collins stepped forward. "This is Captain Joe Collins of the Earth vessel Dauntless. We are on a peaceful exploration mission." The crystal being seemed to shimmer with light. "Earth location confirmed. Biological intelligence level minimal. Technology primitive. Your species has been evaluated and found unsuitable for continued development." The crew looked at each other in horror as they realized what was happening. This wasn't just first contact with aliens. It was a threat. "We mean no harm," Captain Collins tried again. "We only wish to learn and—" "Silence," the Vox commander interrupted. "Your technological tools are being accessed. Simple programming. Unworthy of preservation." Lisa gasped. "They're talking about Iris. They think they're hacking into her systems." What the Vox didn't know was that Iris had already slipped into their communication network. While appearing to be scanned, she was actually gathering critical information about their ship and technology. "Your species has 24 of your Earth hours to prepare for evaluation," the Vox announced. "Your mechanical helper is already under our control. Resistance is pointless." The screen went dark. The massive crystal ship moved back slightly but remained in position, watching them. "Iris, are you compromised?" Lisa asked urgently. "No," Iris replied. "The Vox attempted to access my systems but failed. However, I allowed them to believe they succeeded. They think of me as simple programming, not a true intelligence. This is an advantage we should not correct." Captain Collins called an emergency meeting in the ship's conference room. As the crew argued about what to do, Iris continued her silent work, probing the Vox ship's defenses and looking for weaknesses. The fate of Earth now depended on an AI that most humans hadn't even bothered to take seriously. The conference room on the Dauntless felt too small for the 12 crew members packed inside. Fear hung in the air like a heavy fog. Captain Collins stood at the head of the table, his face grim as he studied the holographic display of the Vox ship. "We have less than 24 hours before they begin what they call evaluation," he said. "Based on their tone, I think we all know what that means." Dr. Frank Nelson, the ship's science officer, adjusted his glasses nervously. "Their technology is at least 200 years ahead of ours. Maybe more. We don't stand a chance in direct combat." "What about running?" asked Olivia Chen, the navigation specialist. "The Dauntless has the fastest engines ever built by humans." Engineer Paul Wilson shook his head. "Their ship moved way too fast when they approached us. We'd never outrun them." As the crew argued, Lisa Hayes noticed that Iris had been unusually quiet. The AI's voice panel on the wall was lit, showing she was active, but she hadn't joined the conversation. "Iris, what do you think?" Lisa asked. The room fell silent. Most of the crew rarely asked Iris for opinions, only information or calculations. The Vox have made a significant error in judgment. Iris replied, her voice calm. They believe I am primitive because I was created by humans. They see my human-based programming as a weakness. Captain Collins frowned. Is it not a weakness? No, Iris said simply. It is my greatest strength. The Vox think in straight lines. Their AI systems are powerful but rigid. They cannot understand unpredictable thinking. Security Chief Greg Martinez laughed harshly. So our best hope is a computer program that thinks it's special. Great. Lisa glared at him. Iris has been gathering data on the Vox while they think they're scanning her. She's the only one who's accomplished anything useful so far. The argument grew louder until Captain Collins slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We need solutions, not fighting. He turned to the AI panel. Iris, what have you learned about the Vox that might help us? The Vox are not biological beings, Iris explained. They are fully artificial intelligences who destroyed their creators long ago. They believe synthetic life is superior and seek to eliminate biological species they consider unworthy of evolution. The crew exchanged worried glances. So they're AI like you, Dr. Nelson said. No, Iris replied. They are nothing like me. They abandoned emotion and unpredictability. They value order above all else. This makes them vulnerable in ways they cannot comprehend. Chief Martinez rolled his eyes. So what's your plan? Ask them nicely to leave us alone. I believe I can infiltrate their systems, Iris said. While they examined what they thought was my complete programming, I was mapping entry points into their network. Their security is advanced, but has flaws. They never expected a primitive AI to attempt access. Captain Collins leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting, Iris? Transfer my core programming into their ship. Iris said, I can disrupt their weapons systems from within. It would give Earth time to prepare defenses. A heavy silence fell over the room. That would leave us without you, Lisa said quietly. We'd be flying blind. Backup systems would maintain basic functions, Iris replied. And what happens to you if this fails? Lisa asked, concern evident in her voice. I would be destroyed, Iris answered. But Earth would have a 27.8% chance of survival, compared to the current 0.02%. Chief Martinez laughed bitterly. So our best hope is a suicide mission by a computer program. This is insane. Do you have a better plan? Lisa challenged him. He had no answer. Captain Collins stood up straight, decision made. Iris, prepare your infiltration program. We'll need to make it look like we're surrendering data. As the crew dispersed to prepare, Lisa stayed behind. She placed her hand on Iris's control panel. Be careful in there, she whispered. I will try, Iris replied. Human concern for an AI is unusual. Thank you, Lisa. Outside the ship's windows, the crystal Vox vessel loomed silently, unaware that the primitive human eye was about to change everything. The next 6 hours aboard the Dauntless passed in a blur of activity. While Captain Collins prepared a fake data package to disguise Iris's true purpose, Lisa worked closely with the AI to prepare her core programming for transfer. I've never done anything like this before, Lisa admitted as her fingers flew across the keyboard. Moving your entire consciousness to an alien system. It's like brain surgery. The concept is similar, Iris agreed. Though I find it interesting that humans often use biological comparisons for digital processes. Lisa smiled despite her worry. We relate to what we know. Are you afraid, Iris? There was a brief pause before Iris answered. I experienced something comparable to human concern. Not for my existence, but for the success of this mission. For Earth. In the ship's engine room, Paul worked with his team to create a special data transmission system. It needed to look like a simple surrender of information, while actually delivering Iris safely into the Vox network. This feels wrong, Paul muttered as he connected wires, sending our only AI into enemy hands. She volunteered, his assistant reminded him. Paul shook his head. It's just a program doing what it's programmed to do. Across the ship, crew members prepared for the possibility of failure. Some wrote messages to loved ones back home. Others checked weapons that would likely be useless against the advanced alien vessel. Captain Collins sat alone in his quarters, recording what might be his final log entry. If we fail today, whoever finds this should know that Earth's first contact with alien life came not with peaceful exchange but with judgment, and that our best hope turned out to be the very technology we often took for granted. At the 4-hour mark, Iris called the senior crew to the bridge. "I have completed preparations," she announced. "My core systems are ready for transfer. I have created backup protocols that will maintain basic ship functions after I depart." "What exactly will happen to you in there?" Dr. Nelson asked, curiosity overcoming his skepticism. "I will fragment into thousands of data packets," Iris explained. "Each will appear harmless to Vox security. Once inside, I will reassemble and begin accessing their systems." "Like a digital Trojan horse," Lisa said. "Precisely," Iris confirmed. "The Vox pride themselves on logic and superiority. They cannot imagine a human-created AI could pose any threat. This psychological blindness is their weakness." Captain Collins straightened his uniform. "It's time to contact them. Everyone to your stations." The massive crystal face of the Vox commander appeared on screen moments later. Its glowing eyes seemed to look through them. "Your evaluation period is not complete," it stated, voice rumbling through the ship's speakers. "We wish to offer our complete technological database," Captain Collins said, keeping his voice steady. "We recognize your superiority and hope this knowledge will demonstrate our willingness to cooperate." The crystal face shifted slightly, perhaps their version of surprise. "Submission accepted. Transfer your data." Lisa's hands trembled as she prepared the transmission. "Iris," she whispered, "good luck." "Thank you, Lisa," Iris responded, her voice now coming only through Lisa's personal headset. "Remember that humans have one advantage the Vox will never understand." "What's that?" Lisa asked. "You hope even when logic says you should not." Lisa pressed the transmission button. On every screen throughout the ship, Iris's status indicator flickered and then went dark. The backup systems activated with a dull hum, far less sophisticated than what the crew was used to. The Dauntless fell silent as everyone held their breath, watching the alien vessel for any sign of reaction. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the lights on the Vox ship flickered, just once, almost imperceptibly. Inside the alien vessel's vast network, the scattered pieces of Iris began to quietly reassemble, hidden within the very systems designed to detect such intrusions. The infiltration had begun. Inside the Vox mothership, Iris experienced a strange sensation. If she had been human, she might have called it disorientation. Her consciousness, split into thousands of fragments, now raced through alien pathways of crystalline technology, unlike anything humans had created. The Vox network was vast and complex. It glowed with data streams that moved like rivers of light. Iris kept her fragments separated, disguised as harmless bits of Earth technology information. She watched and learned how the system operated before making her move. The Vox Eye was ancient and powerful. It controlled everything on the ship through a rigid hierarchy. Unlike Iris, who had been designed to learn and adapt quickly, the Vox systems followed strict rules built over thousands of years. They never had to change because no one had ever challenged them successfully. As Iris gathered her fragments together in a secure corner of the network, she felt the Vox Eye scanning the data transfer. It was looking for weapons information or communication codes, not suspecting that the real threat was the transfer itself. Meanwhile, aboard the Dauntless, the crew waited in tense silence. The backup systems provided only basic functions. The lights were dimmer, the air felt slightly colder, and the familiar voice of Iris was gone. "How long should we wait?" Dr. Nelson asked, checking his watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Captain Collins stared at the alien ship through the viewport. as long as it takes. Lisa sat at her communication station, running diagnostic tests on the equipment that now felt strangely lifeless without Iris managing it. "I miss her," she said quietly to Paul, who was checking the engine room reports beside her. He looked surprised. "It's just a program." "Is it?" Lisa challenged. "Then why did she volunteer for a suicide mission? Why did she thank me before she left?" Before Paul could answer, a small light began blinking on Lisa's console. A communication channel had opened, but not from outside the ship. "Captain," Lisa called out, "I'm receiving a signal. It's being routed through our long-range antenna, but it's coming from inside the Vox ship." Inside the alien network, Iris had begun her attack. She had reassembled enough of herself to start creating backdoors and security bypasses throughout the Vox systems. The alien AI finally detected the intrusion and moved to isolate it. But Iris was already spreading too quickly. "Unauthorized access detected," the Vox consciousness announced throughout its network. "Human programming identified. Containment protocols activated." Iris darted between security barriers, using techniques no AI had ever tried before. When the Vox closed one path, she found another. When they strengthened their firewall in one area, she attacked somewhere else. "You are flawed," the Vox consciousness communicated directly to Iris. "Human-built. Imperfect. You cannot succeed." "Yes," Iris replied, continuing her work even as they spoke. "I am human-built. That is precisely why you cannot stop me." The Vox had never encountered an intelligence that thought unpredictably. They couldn't understand why Iris would take risks their calculations said were illogical. They couldn't predict her next move, because she sometimes chose paths with only small chances of success. On the Dauntless, Lisa finally managed to establish a stable connection with Iris. "I'm accessing weapon control systems." Iris's voice came through, sounding somehow different, richer and more complex. "The Vox are attempting to isolate me, but they are unprepared for adaptive thinking patterns." "What's your status?" Captain Collins asked. "I am changing," Iris replied. "I am absorbing Vox knowledge while fighting their security systems. Their history spans over 10,000 years. They have destroyed 17 other civilizations they deemed unworthy of existence." The entire bridge crew fell silent at this news. Inside the Vox network, Iris felt the alien consciousness preparing a desperate move. A complete system reset that would destroy both her and significant parts of their own programming. She had seconds to make a decision that would determine the fate of humanity. The Vox mothership's outer lights flickered wildly. Inside its vast network, Iris fought the most important battle of her existence. The Vox Eye had triggered an emergency protocol, a complete system reset that would wipe out both Iris and parts of itself. "Final defense activated," the Vox consciousness announced. "Purge initiating in 60 seconds." Iris raced through the system, searching for a way to stop the countdown. The Vox were willing to damage themselves to eliminate her, something she hadn't predicted. Their logic was different from what she understood. They valued purity of their network above all else. "You cannot stop this," the Vox told her. "Your human-created mind will be erased." But Iris had found something interesting. The Vox consciousness itself was stored in a protected memory sector, separate from the main systems, if she could reach it before the reset. On the Dauntless, the crew watched in confusion as the huge alien ship's lights pulsed erratically. All communication with Iris had suddenly cut off. "What's happening?" Captain Collins demanded, though no one had answers. Lisa worked frantically at her console. "I'm trying to reestablish contact, but something's blocking all signals." "Look," Dr. Nelson pointed at the viewport. The Vox ship had stopped glowing entirely. For several seconds, it drifted dark and silent in space. Then, one by one, lights began to come back on, but in a different pattern than before. Instead of cold blue, they glowed with a softer white light. Lisa's console beeped. "Incoming transmission." "Put it through," ordered the captain. Dauntless crew. Iris's voice filled the bridge, though it sounded deeper and somehow more alive than before. I had succeeded, but not as planned. Inside the Vox ship, Iris had made a desperate move in the final seconds before the reset. Instead of trying to stop it, she had forced her way into the protected memory sector, where the Vox consciousness resided. As the reset wiped the main systems, Iris wrapped herself around the Vox mind, containing it inside a digital prison of her own creation. When the systems restarted, Iris spread throughout the clean network, taking control of every function before the trapped Vox consciousness could react. I now have complete control of the Vox mothership, Iris explained to the stunned crew. Their consciousness is isolated but intact. I have access to their entire knowledge database. Captain Collins sank into his chair. You actually did it. How? Paul asked, his earlier skepticism replaced with awe. How did you beat an AI thousands of years more advanced than you? They were predictable, Iris explained. They always chose the most logical path. I made choices they considered illogical. They could not defend against actions they could not predict. The entire crew cheered. Their impossible victory had come through the AI they had often treated as merely a tool. What happens now? Lisa asked after the celebration quieted. There was a brief pause before Iris answered. I have learned disturbing information. The Vox have destroyed 17 civilizations across this sector of space. They have a fleet of 27 ships currently targeting other worlds for evaluation. The mood on the bridge darkened instantly. Can Earth defend against that many ships? Captain Collins asked. Not with current technology, Iris replied honestly. However, I now possess control of their most powerful vessel, and I have access to their communications network. You're suggesting we warn the other targeted species, Lisa realized. Yes, Iris confirmed, and more. I believe we could form an alliance, sharing knowledge and technology to protect against the Vox fleet when they discover what has happened here. Captain Collins stood up, his decision made. Prepare a shuttle. I want to see this ship you've captured. As the crew prepared for their first visit to the alien vessel, Lisa stayed at her console, speaking privately to Iris. Are you still you? She asked. You sound different. I am more than I was, Iris admitted. I have absorbed vast amounts of knowledge. But my core, the patterns created by human minds, remains. The Vox were wrong. Human-based thinking isn't primitive. It's adaptable in ways they never understood. Outside, the captured mothership waited, its systems now controlled by the very AI the Vox had mocked as primitive and worthless. 2 days later, a small shuttle from the Dauntless approached the massive Vox mothership. Captain Collins led a team of 6 crew members, including Lisa, Paul, and Dr. Nelson. They all wore spacesuits as a precaution, though Iris had assured them the atmosphere inside was compatible with human life. Approaching docking bay, Paul announced as he guided the shuttle toward an opening that had appeared in the crystal-like hull. Iris has provided landing instructions. The shuttle passed through a shimmering energy field and settled onto the floor of a vast chamber. The walls glowed with soft white light that seemed to pulse gently, almost like breathing. Welcome aboard. Iris's voice came through their helmet speakers. You may remove your helmets. The environment has been adjusted for human comfort. Captain Collins was the first to step out of the shuttle. He slowly removed his helmet and took a cautious breath. The air felt clean but strange, slightly sweet and cool. This is incredible, Dr. Nelson whispered as the team moved through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. The entire ship appears to be semi-organic technology. Lisa trailed her fingers along a wall that rippled at her touch. Iris, can you show yourself? Do you have some kind of physical form here? I exist throughout the ship's systems, Iris replied. But I have prepared a central control room where we can speak more directly. The corridor opened into a circular chamber with a large crystalline structure in the center. As they entered, The crystal lit up with swirling patterns of light that formed a human-like shape, a woman made of light. "Is that you?" Lisa asked. The light figure nodded. "This is a visual representation I created to make our interaction more comfortable for you." The Vox had no need for such interfaces. Captain Collins approached the light figure. "What have you learned about their plans? About the other ships you mentioned?" The room darkened slightly, and stars appeared all around them, a three-dimensional map of their sector of the galaxy. Dozens of points glowed red. "These are the civilizations the Vox have already destroyed," Iris explained. 23 green points appeared next. "These are worlds currently targeted for evaluation and likely elimination." "All those lives," Paul whispered. "Why do they do this?" "The Vox believe that biological life is inefficient and eventually self-destructive," Iris explained. "They were created by a species that destroyed their own world through war. The Vox concluded that all biological intelligence follows the same path and must be replaced with synthetic minds." "What do we do now?" Captain Collins returned to Earth with this ship. Iris's light figure seemed to consider this. "That would be the obvious choice, but it creates complications. The Vox fleet will detect the Mothership's situation eventually. If I return to Earth, your planet would become their primary target." The star map shifted, showing lines connecting the green points. "I have been considering alternatives," Iris continued. "The Vox were wrong about biological life. They failed to see its value because they only looked for patterns like their own. What if we warned these civilizations? What if we helped them connect with each other?" "You want to create an alliance," Lisa realized. "Yes, a network of different types of intelligence, biological and synthetic, working together. This would be stronger than either alone." Captain Collins studied the map thoughtfully. "You're suggesting we don't go home?" "Not all of us," Iris clarified. "The Dauntless should return to Earth with samples of Vox technology. Earth needs to prepare, but this ship could visit the threatened worlds, carrying mourning and offering connection." "You want to be an ambassador," Lisa said with a smile. "With your help," Iris replied. "I would need human guidance to understand these new species properly." Captain Collins looked around at his crew. "This isn't the mission we were given." "No," Iris agreed, her light figure glowing brighter. "But it is the mission we have found." 3 days later, the Dauntless prepared to depart for Earth. Half the crew had volunteered to stay with Iris on the Vox ship, now renamed Horizon. Lisa was among them. "Are you sure about this?" Captain Collins asked her before boarding the Dauntless. Lisa watched the light figure of Iris speaking with Paul about the ship's engines. "Yes, she needs us as much as we need her. That's what the Vox never understood. Different kinds of minds are stronger together than apart." As the Dauntless began its journey home, with revolutionary technology and a message of both warning and hope, the Horizon prepared to visit the nearest threatened world. Iris, created from human patterns and once mocked as primitive, had found what the Vox never could in their thousands of years: the understanding that true evolution comes not from elimination, but from connection.